Welcome, everybody. We're so excited for this episode of the Educator Wellness Revolution. We have two people who are near and dear to our heart. We have Rachel Hargraves, who is an art teacher at Deal Middle School here in Washington, D.C. And we have Dr. Robert Bannister, who is a music teacher at Burroughs Elementary School. And Rachel is an Empower Ed Fellow and has been part of the Empower Ed family for a while. And then Dr. Bannister is actually my kids' a wonderful, amazing music teacher, and I've gotten to see just the way he has brought music into this community. And we're very grateful to have this conversation about specials and Intercore and how to really uplift the wellness needs that you all have. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, let's start just with the basics. Can you introduce yourself and give an overview of your teaching experience? And then also, what do you love about being a teacher? Let's start with you, Rachel.
Sure. I've been a teacher at Deal Middle School for 8 years. Actually got placed here as a student teacher, so I haven't left. I got into teaching because my mom was a teacher. But being an art teacher, I love the fact that kids are not coming in necessarily loving art and getting them to get to that place by the end of the class, whether it be with digital art or ceramics or whatever. That is kind of my why. And the kids know that whenever they say, I can't draw a face or I can't, create a sculpture, I will always respond with yet. So that is my motto.
Love that. I think about the book, The Dot.
Oh, I love that book. Yeah, that's good.
You can draw a dot. You can make art.
Yeah.
Everybody can do art.
All right. What about you, Robert? Introduce yourself, please.
Okay. Well, I've been teaching for 22 years now,
Wow.
but I've only been in 3 schools. Used to teach in Baltimore City at Cecil Elementary for 13 years. Then I taught overseas at an American International School in Cairo for a year. And then I came here to John Burroughs in Washington, D.C. And I went to undergraduate school in Washington, D.C. at Howard. So I was happy to come back to D.C. I've been, I think, since I left, trying to make my way back to this area. And I couldn't have found a better school to continue my career at.
What do you love about being a teacher?
What I love about being a teacher is the opportunities that the students are given. I mean, as a music teacher, I feel like I'm giving a lot more than I got when I was a music student. I remember being in elementary school and, the music teacher would put on a record and it'll be, she'll be coming around the mountain or something like that. And I love that we have so many different aspects of music that we're learning here. We have strings here, percussion, keyboards. There's a lot of music theory that the students are learning. There's a lot that they're learning about how to be creative and making their own music. So I just love the opportunity that the students have to really learn a lot about music and all the other subjects that connect to it.
And I'm just going to brag for a second that the music assemblies that we have at Burroughs are like really next level, incredible music. So you do an amazing job.
And I feel like every parent experiences these things with specials. Like I feel like for me, it's like if my kids don't want to say anything else about the day, they're gonna tell me what the special was and like what they did in that class. And it's just like, so I think it's apparent and obvious to most of us who are parents or connected to education. But just from your perspective, and I'll start with you, Dr. Bannister, just like why is it important that students have access to these classes, these specials or these intercore classes? And why is it important that they have a well-rounded education in that way early on and throughout their education?
Absolutely. Well, first, let me say I'm always surprised, as you just said, when parents come and say, "Oh yeah, my son or my daughter talks about your class all the time." I think that when I'm out of sight, they're not even worried about music. But I just think it's important in helping them to be well-rounded individuals. There are so many things that connect to the other subjects that also come through music. Like we're learning about the Impressionist period with 5th graders now, and they connected it to other things that were happening during that period in history, artists that were also painting in the same ways that these musicians were composing music, the different ways that they were experimenting with music then and making changes that was different from the classical or the romantic period. And they are thinking like, okay, just like now, there are things that are going on where people are pushing the envelope musically or in literature or whatever they may be doing. So it kind of makes them well-rounded. It gives them an outlet to enjoy something outside of, reading, math, and also making those connections to those subjects. I don't know exactly how they work, but I do know that as a musician growing up, like in middle and in high school, I was really good at math, and I think there's something with the formula that comes with music instruction and the way that math is. I mean, anything with the formula, I could kind of figure it out, and music is a lot of that. So, just unlocking things, their thoughts, and seeing how they're connected to all subjects.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think like students can relate to that in the way that like, I feel like my brain works in this way or something clicks with me in this way and it transfers across subjects, as you said. It's not music is not just about music, art is just not just about art. And I feel like that's part of the importance of these classes. What about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I mean, I think echoing a lot of what Dr. Bernice was saying, the problem solving, the choice-based element, they're flexing a lot of muscles that they may not be flexing in other subjects, because we're giving them kind of more open-ended prompts. We're giving them a lot of background, but then we're asking them to create. And that's not necessarily something that they're doing in their math classes. They're kind of like following those formulas. And now we're giving them the formulas. And now you need to take those formulas and make something of your own of that, grapple with the world around you. And I think that kind of independence is a lot better, like skill wise, as they go into high school with time management and all sorts of those less hard skills that they need to actually succeed later on in life. They're learning more in our classes because of the innate, less structured way. And I think that kids are such, especially in DCPS, like they're just such a number. Like this is your RI score, and this is your, MAP testing, and this is your stamp testing, and being not thought of as a number, but as a person, and just, hey, you're starting in, and you may not think that this is for you, but what about this other medium, and what about this other prompt that is going to make you think in a different way?
When I think about what we need moving forward in our lives, like we need creative problem solvers.
Yeah.
And I think about the skill sets that they're getting in your classes, and like that is what is helping them. Like it's really good to get the basics, but you need to be able to riff on that and innovate as well. I want to welcome, we're joined by Carrie Redding, also is the librarian at Savoy Elementary School. Welcome, Carrie.
Good morning. Welcome. Sorry about that. I was having a little tech difficulty this morning.
No worries. We are an educator podcast, so we understand the educator morning schedules in particular. So happy you're here. Do you want to give just a brief introduction of yourself and why you love teaching? Jump right in.
I'm Carrie Richardson Redding. I am currently a library media specialist for Savoy Elementary School here in Washington, D.C. And I am a career educator. I don't think we have enough time to talk about why I love teaching, but I think the easy tagline is I love being part of shaping the human experience to help us to evolve and become better people, to take care of ourselves, each other, and the planet.
There you go. That's it. That's all right there. Oh, okay. Well, I want to talk about how you all explain to people about the role and scope of your job, because I think we just finished Teacher Appreciation Week, and I think a lot of people, their brain goes to like classroom teacher, teaching you to read, teaching you the math. And so how do you all describe what you do and the way that you interact in a school community? And let's start with you, Rachel.
Okay. Sorry, that's the bell.
Yeah, we can't hear it. It's okay.
Okay, great. Oh, it's very loud for me. Yeah, so I think with art specifically, there is a lot more material management. I think that's true for a lot of the specials. And I think science teachers, like if they're doing a lab and such for a day, they kind of get that. Or if the history teacher, I know our history department does like a big project at the end of the year, but that stuff is very time consuming and taxing. So I just got in at 7:20 this morning, and I spent up until 8:30 when we jumped on this podcast, loading and unloading the kiln, right? And so that is not like built into my day of planning. I have to get here early to make sure that it gets done. And then because we're doing ceramics right now, there's like, we have to make sure the water is refilled and the clay is hydrated and all this stuff that's not necessarily my lesson planning, my meeting up with parents, my, grade book norming and everything like that. And so that kind of element is sometimes forgotten when people give us tasks like, hey, can you help with this thing? Yeah, but however, times my workload by the material management as well. And then also that obviously transfers into classroom management and like norming the kids on how we deal with clay and how we deal with paint and stuff that can easily get chaotic very quickly. So my room is a controlled chaos is what I always tell the kids.
Mixed Redding, you wanna add anything in there too?
Please, it's just Carrie.
Okay.
I agree with what Rachel said. It's materials management. I mean, I'm on my phone this morning and I can show you, I have these piles of books I need to get through. This is the book order for the year, plus donations to give out to students. I think something people forget about Intercore is if you are a classroom teacher, you're specialized in a grade level, we teach the entire community. So on any given day, I'm seeing preschoolers, second graders, third graders, and fifth graders. And to be able to move between those grade levels and understand what they need. We only see them once a week. And sometimes that's interrupted through special programming, et cetera. So maybe 2 or 3 weeks since I've seen a class. And so to get back into the groove of being in a different space, a much bigger space, I'm in the library. So it's a much bigger space with lots of options here, is something people don't often think about. A classroom teacher, you're specialized on that grade level, but as an Intercore teacher, you are, specialized in that division, right? Early childhood education and elementary. And so that's something to consider as well, as we are scaling all day long.
Yes.
Um,
I mean,
go ahead, Dr. Banish.
no, just to jump in, I find it, I mean, this is kind of difficult for me sometimes. Like, even when parent-teacher conferences come, I just find myself letting the parents know what the students are doing and kind of gathering, what my job is from that. Let them know what they're learning. Again, like Carrie was mentioning, you have all the students in the whole school. So I can explain to them what pre-K students are doing versus, our fifth graders.
Yeah.
And for me, there's a lot of additional time put in, maybe not with materials, but with the practice time. I have groups that I keep after on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Another group that I keep after on Tuesdays and Thursdays to give the students additional practice time, to give them time to work on solo things, on ensemble things. And it's all a part of the instruction that they're getting every day too.
Yeah.
With the music ensemble, it's hard for a 45-minute class period for them to get all they need to be proficient on their instruments. So put in that extra time to make sure that they have the opportunity to practice and put what they're learning, into practice and get better at it is another thing that may be different from some of the classes.
So you've already started to name all these, but your jobs are substantially different, right, from others in that, first of all, you're educating everyone in the school, right? And your wellness needs are going to be different just inherently in that, and that your caseload is everybody, which is very different, right, from other educators. It can be the things like coming in early in the morning to get the clay and the art, ready, or preparing the instruments and music, or, all the additional things that you have on your plates. Some of which you've named already, but Carrie, I'll go to you first on this. Just like, what is different about your wellness needs as an Intercore teacher that might be different in terms of like, what is the wellness support you need from your school, and how is that different from other educators? What's really challenging for the Intercore teachers?
Well, I'll give a specific example because we just are wrapping up our testing for right now. And so obviously schedules change for testing to meet the needs of testing, and the Intercore schedule changes as well. And so our planning times get chopped up in a different way. And when I'm planning for the day, like I said, I have 4 classes ahead of me today, 4 different grade levels. And so if you chop my planning time up and now I have less time to clean up between classes, reflect on what went well. I've been an educator for over 30 years. And so one of my practices is not just planning what I'm doing, but reflecting on the end of the day. This class went well because of, this class did not go well because of, so I can make some adjustments for myself. So that reflection time gets chopped, which not only affects me, but affects the students as well, in terms of my ability to slow down and be present in that way. And also when you're talking about workload, as everyone said, you know, you keep students back for certain things. Thankfully, in the library in my community, students come in the morning because they want to exchange books. Students are trying to get me after school because they want to exchange books. And to manage the delicate balance between, yes, I'm so excited you're reading and I want to help you out. At the same time, I'm supposed to be in a meeting. I'm supposed to be at the front door. I haven't gone to the bathroom yet today, those sorts of things. And so I think dealing with everyone in the building and coordinating with our teachers at the same time, we need a different sort of downtime and a different sort of planning in that way. So wellness in that way for me is not going and eating lunch in the faculty room, but having some quiet time for myself and taking a walk in the middle of the day if I can, and hydrating and making sure I have those resources near me as opposed to having to commute across the building, which is time, precious time that we often don't have.
Yeah. Anybody else about just how your needs are different from a wellness perspective?
I would echo the time thing as well. We're one of the few middle schools. I think it's just us and Stuart Hobson in the DC public schools that don't have a block schedule. And that is fine for our core teachers. They are actually like glad to have just the 45 minutes, but 45 minutes for takedown, just set up and cleanup that's half the time. Like you need 10 minutes for either side. And so then to have the expectation be that we are doing a do now every day and we are teaching a lesson every day and we are doing an SEL thing. It's like SEL's got to be in the clay because we got to cut something of a, you know, like I can't be doing every single thing every single day. And I think that gift of time, like you're saying, I try and go outside for my lunch breaks because I know that if I stay inside, I just will be doing work throughout them. And I also, I would love if there was a world where we could think about them as different enough that there was a planning difference, because I think DC specifically has kind of created a animosity between teachers sometimes where it's like, no, everyone needs 45 minutes a day and everyone needs 45 minutes for planning. And if we don't get that, then X, Y, and Z happens. And it's like, well, yeah, except that I would love, you know, a 90-minute class. And so that would maybe open up other people's days if I could take those kids for 90 minutes or what have you. But that flexibility isn't really present in the district as it is.
And that's such an opportunity because I think, you know, in one way, we want to make sure specials and intercore teachers have time together, but also have time with other educators in the building. It's a little bit of a puzzle, right? In making sure that that happens. But also, like you said, making schedules a little bit more flexible for you. And potentially that's with longer blocks, right? But then more time available for you that is flexible for yourselves could then free up other educators to have some more flexibility. So there's so much possibility with that I think is untapped.
Well, my question is about like bringing your voice forward and having it included in this kind of decision making. Like, do you feel like that's happening? And or like, what are the ways that you would like to be included in this conversation to be able to really make what you do everything it can be? Dr. Banish, let's go to you first.
Yeah, I think sometimes it can be difficult depending on what you're doing as a special teacher. I know that I, in the past, have been on certain committees that meet during the times that now I have students, so I can't, committees that make decisions about what's happening in the school or happens with the budget, you know, and I have I want to serve on them. I have an interest in being included, but just the fact that I'm working with students after school and the times for those are set during them because everyone else is, for the most part, off at 3:30, then it, you know, limits me from being able to participate. And sometimes it's not feasible for everyone to, you know, accommodate my schedule. I know people, when they leave work, they want to get to their children or their homes or whatever else they have going on. So sometimes it's difficult that way. But oh, well, let me not say but, and just making sure that you can have the autonomy to kind of create the program that you want in the school. You know, especially for, you know, my subject, there are people who are, you know, good at singing, good at band, good at orchestra keys. You know, there's so many specialties, and, you know, having the ability to kind of create a program where you can really uh, be effective and I'm not a band instrumentalist. I was actually a music history major undergraduate school, and I got a master's in education. So I never had to have instruction in brass instruments or instruction in woodwind instruments. So to be able to, craft a program that works for me, that I can still educate the students and give them my best, and it's really important for me. It's like, okay, I'm prepared and I know I can deliver this, and for the students to really get a quality education. So having the ability to have some autonomy and make decisions is really important to making sure that the program goes well.
Yeah, and I hear an element of education in there too, like of educating everyone else to be like, you say music and you have to understand how big music is. It's like asking any LA teacher to just be an expert in every phase of literature and every part of it, and just
Yes.
understand that like you're a human being who he specializes, and that people need to understand sort of what the scope of that is, and creating the programs to meet your gifts rather than expecting you to expand to every single check every box. Rachel or Carrie, you want to add anything?
Go ahead, Carrie. I'll let you.
I was going to say, Rachel, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I do feel like I have a voice in my school. I've been a teacher leader for 6 years as a department chair. And I set boundaries myself, that I used to do a lot of after school stuff, and I understand with music, like you kind of have to, but with art, I'm like, I set boundaries after my second year here. And I set boundaries also with like the school community, because I think it's easy for the art teacher to become the warehouse of art supplies, and the also like inside graphic designer when everyone needs like a poster for some event. And I'm like, oh, I'm happy to help you do that. The kids are going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I will gladly have the kids that are finished doing their work make a poster for this weekend's, open house or whatever. But kind of just making it clear that my time is valuable, and that can very easily be an enriching experience, an extension activity for per se for the kids.
Yeah, and for my perspective, I would say I am a 30+ year educator, but I am a first year librarian, and I am a first year in public schools. I've been in independent schools for most of my career, and public schools in other places. And so I am still searching in my community for a way for my voice to be heard, so that people understand the Library Media Center is for everyone. There is lots of opportunity here for what we can do, but there is also still a core curriculum around information and media literacy that has to happen. And in order for it to be the most effective it can be, it needs to be tied into the curriculum that exists, so that the children are not seeing things in silos. And that's still part of the elementary experience, and that's still part of where they are developmentally. But to build a bridge of understanding that what we do in library in terms of understanding information also parlays into how you work with math, or how you're learning about English or reading, or your science explorations in that way. And that really comes down to planning time, which we talked about a little bit. It's just really challenging to figure out a place where Intercore can meet together to talk about these things, and then we can meet with the subject matter specialists around these things to figure it out by grade level. That requires a different level of planning. As you said, the district is still working on that. Private schools have a different sort of flexibility with their faculty in that way. I see great opportunity here. But like I said, it's my first year. And so let's talk in 2 or 3 years and see.
Yeah, well, I want to ask you about those opportunities, because I think that the voices, this part of the reason we're doing this, the voices of Intercore and specialist teachers just are not uplifted enough, I think, in the conversations, not just about educator wellness, but about our education conversation more generally. And I imagine we would design schools pretty differently if your voices were more central, right? So I want to ask about the kind of ideas and solutions you see as possible if your voices were uplifted more, but also just kind of fundamentally, we'll make this a lightning round. Everybody will give an answer to this briefly, which just like, how do you think school would be different if we really heard from Intercore teachers as much as others, that if your voices were central to the conversation, like just how would school be different? And I'll start with Dr. Bannister here, and then everyone will chip in.
Okay, well, I think it'll be different based on the reason we mentioned before, that we see all of the students. So we have a wide scope of the student body that everyone doesn't have. I mean, more than any other uh, teacher or administrator in the building. We are having close contact with all the students, so we have some insight there. It also would help with, I mean, there's still some people, and I mean, teachers and parents alike, maybe admin, that still feel like special subjects are a lower ring, or that it's not as important as the classroom subject. So I think having that input and just being able to say, oh, you know, these are important, and you know, keeping students without communicating, or you know, or just words that are said or things that are done that conveys to students that you know, it's okay, it's just not as important. Well, if we have more of a voice, we could be able to speak to that and show how, you know, it's not conducive and how it's not true. And also the fact that, in a helpful way for us, the fact that we don't have as much time with the students, even though we see them all the time. At the beginning of the year, teachers have a lot of time to build the culture that they want. And for us, it takes a little more because we may see a class 4 times, you know, if there's no holiday or there's nothing else getting in the way, 4 times in a month. But we need to still have that culture built, you know, early in the year so we can progress throughout the rest of the year. So they can have some idea about that, and we can discuss how we can make that happen sooner and happen where it's a whole school thing. And we're pretty good about that at John Burroughs, but a lot of people don't have that, you know, and those voices will help to make that happen sooner.
Yeah. Carrie?
To echo many things that the good doctor just said, I think if we were designing schools around Intercore, the scheduling would be different. If you think about human development, what are the things that children do naturally? They sing, they dance, they play, they create, they express. And so my school would start with some choice time around, do you need to sing this morning? Do you need some musical expression? Do you need some quiet time in the studio? Do you need to bang on some clay? Do you have something you really need to express? Do you need to dance a little bit and move? I would connect it to our core human development things and then move into our academics out of natural curiosity in that way. And there would be mixed age groups. You know, I have third graders. Some are ready to sit in a fifth grade class for some discussion. Some are really need to be back in a kindergarten class around some things. And so the age groups that we have in public schools are not always conducive to where people are developmentally. So I would put the inner core as the core. I mean, it's called core. It would be the heart of the school, and other things would stem around that, you know, with project work. And maybe we're spending a month on the arts and music because we're doing a deep dive of exploration curricularly. And those are the two things that drive the exploration, that allow for different sort of outputs. And so you ask me to dream about schools, I've been dreaming for 30 years.
Oh
It
my
would be
God.
very, very different.
I love
I
that.
love everything you just said so much.
I know, and just like
Rachel, what do you
imagine if
think?
you started with that, right? Think about what that would do for attendance too, because I can just imagine, you know, kids being like, I'm not going to be late, then I'm going to miss, you know, that part of the day where I get to choose what I do, right? And
Right.
things I love and be with the teacher I really want to be with, and right. I mean, there's that would be huge. I love that dream. Rachel?
Yeah, you painted a beautiful picture for us. I think that's a school I would love my future children to attend, and myself. But I think the scheduling, like having specials at the seating at the table when those discussions happen at, I guess, this time of year. I'm not sure when they even happen, right? At our school, there's like a distinction of our kids. A lot of their kids apply to Duke Ellington School of the Arts, but because we're a semester course, half those kids might be in PE for the first half of the year, and by the time applications run around, they haven't actually had art. So I do half of their portfolio in art class and also help them with letters of recommendation, etc. So just on like a base core, like what would make the most sense for those kids if they really wanted art as their, you know, thing, they could choose that, like you're saying, not only at the beginning of the day, but at the beginning of the year, so that they are prepared for high school. I teach mostly 8th grade, so that is just been a scheduling ask we've made for a lot of time, but it just, you know, there's not enough humans in the building, right? And I wish that we have a great theater program, but it's all after school, and having that ingrained and having a dance ingrained. My principal is a dancer, and so she's always talking about, like, in an ideal world, we would have dance, theater, art, music, you know, ceramics even as a separate course, so that the kids could have a choice of, and digital art, right? Like the kids that excel at digital art and photography are completely different kids than excel with working with their hands. Like some of my kids don't want to touch clay and they just want to be on their computer, like basically coding and creating Photoshop stuff. So I think that just, yeah, leaning into the choice and leading into the students, especially in middle school, when they have a lot more autonomy or should have some autonomy, and hey, I want to spend most of my time being in the physical space and being in PE and, you know, getting to move my body, or no, I want to be more in the, you know, space of art and music and the library and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So.
I love that. And just like we emphasize so much when we talk about wellness, just being human-centered in our approach. And what you all are describing is a very human-centered education system. I think like you all just said, I mean, the expression and creation and all of those things that come naturally to us really is fundamentally human. And I think if we design our schools in a way that centers that, we're going to have so much more investment from students, right? We'll see so much more engagement. And the other things will come as you know, as a direct outcome of that, right? And I think they'll flow from people being able to make those choices, as you said, Carrie. So I think it's a beautiful world that you have described, and I think we absolutely need to continue to elevate your voices more in it, because I think the kind of things that we evaluate sometimes, or the kind of metrics that we follow, sometimes push us away from these things that are so fundamental to what drive human beings to their education, right? And to their exploration of the kind of future that they want for themselves. And you all, as Rachel said, painted a beautiful picture there, said it wonderfully. So it's just really great to be able to explore all of this with you. And we're really, really thankful for your voices.
Yeah, I love this conversation. Thank you so much, Rachel Hargraves, Dr. Robert Bannister, and Carrie Redding. It was a real gift to be with you this morning. Thank you to everyone for listening.
Thank you.
You guys.